This video has been entirely created with AI, and I will show you how to step by step create and automate a large portion of the process in order to get you started as an AI influencer.
Discover the best sightseeing spots in Marseille. Explore the stunning Calanques, marvel at the Notre Dame de la Garde, and stroll through the vibrant Old Port. Experience the city's unique charm.
In order for us to start creating our first AI influencer videos, let me quickly go through the tools that we're going to be using. First of all, it's broken down into the preparation, the automation, and then finally the video editing. Inside of the preparation, we're going to start with using the free version of ChatGPT in order for us to do some market research and getting some content ideas. Then we're going to input those ideas into Google Sheets and later on use that inside of the automation. Then to actually creating our base image, we can either use Fooocus, which I'm going to get into, but basically it's a free software that you can download, but there are some caveats to it. For example, that you have to be on a Windows machine and that you have to have a good enough graphics card. If you were to be on Mac, like me for example, then you would be able to use something like ShadowPC, which I'm gonna cover inside of this video, which is a way for you to get a virtual machine of a Windows desktop so that you can use it to create images. Alternatively, you can always use Midjourney, and I'll show you for which scenario Midjourney or Fooocus will be better suited. Next, for the automation, we're gonna use make.com, which is an online tool which allows us to set specific tasks and call APIs, and we'll get into that again later in the video. Then we're going to use Google Sheets for our input from ChatGPT and also for our output of the videos that we need. Next, inside of the automation segment, we're going to be using the API of ChatGPT, which is paid, but basically it's quite inexpensive, and I'll get into the details later on. Then to create our actual videos, we're going to use the API subscription of $18 per month of DID, and to host our image so that we can access it inside of automation, we're going to use a free Imgur account. Finally, inside of the video editing section, I'm going to show you how to remove watermarks using a free version of Canva, and inside of the free video editing software CapCut, we can have our subtitles auto-generated and get the video done as quick as possible. Finally, I'm also going to show you an alternative to DID, which is called HeyGen, which is $30 per month, and you're going to have to input manual labor. But the benefit of using HeyGen is you can create an unlimited amount of videos. Compared to DID, you will see that you have some limits inside of this $18 per month API subscription. So to get started using the free version of ChatGPT, I simply input the prompt for it to browse the web for AI influencers and specifically which niches are most profitable. Then it went in and searched 5 sites, as you can see right here. And it turns out, for example, fashion and cosmetics can be really profitable. And here's a notable example like Lil Michaela, which you can see here, which is just a character created with AI in different scenarios. Now, since this is an influencer with 2.5 million followers, they have partnerships. For example, here this giveaway with MSI. Obviously, you're not going to start out that way, but depending on what kind of niche you go into, you can shout out specific companies or sell affiliate products and start making money that way. Once you've decided on what kind of AI influencer you will be using for your specific use case, it's time to create the base image. There are 2 options. Option 1, using Midjourney and creating a still image and then removing the background and changing the background with something like Canva into multiple colors, and then having the head and face animated as you saw in the initial video in the intro. Option number 2 is using something like Fooocus, which is a free tool that you can download, which uses your graphics card to generate the images. Now, as a disclaimer, you need to have a decent graphic card as well as a Windows machine in order to use Fooocus. If you don't have a Windows machine or your graphics card is not good enough to run Fooocus, then you can use something like ShadowPC or Google Colab. The issue with Google Colab is that you don't really have access to a virtual machine, meaning a desktop where you can install whatever you want. You're basically sharing the computing power with other people. Now, whereas with Shadow, you would have your own dedicated virtual machine that you can use to download Fooocus and then create the images on there. Using Shadow, you have multiple tiers and you could use the cheapest option, and depending on how good the graphics card is, the creation of the generated AI image will take longer. So for Midjourney I'm using the alpha web version right now, but if you're just starting out, then obviously you will be inside of Discord. Now initially I started out with prompting Midjourney to create me an image of a beautiful young woman in her 20s with shoulder length glossy black hair and makeup, wearing a white dress in front of a dark background. Once I had an image that I was happy with, I upscaled it, and now the important part is we need more space around her, simply because if you're using DID for animating your video, then you will have a watermark in the bottom left corner, and to crop that out using Canva, I'll show you that later, you have to have enough space around her in order not to cut off too much from the actual character itself. To achieve the zooming out, what I initially did was obviously select my character right here and then using the zoom out 2x function right there. And then I chose number 3, which was my end result. Now if you were on the web version of Midjourney like I am right now, what you would do is inside of that selected image, go down here to the bottom and select reframe, and then go over to zoom, and here you could select your zoom and then submit. Now to keep this video as short as possible, I'm not gonna go over how to properly use focus. Instead, what you can do is go to our previous videos on our YouTube channel and look at, for example, the in-paint and out-paint tutorial. I just open input image, enhance and advanced, and then I start prompting. So let's take a prompt from our previously created image using Midjourney. And here on the right side you can see how many images you want to have created. I'll put it on 4 for this, and then generate. Alright, and these are the results. Some things obviously are off from time to time, but that's okay. You could change that using in-paint and on-paint. Now for this example, what we want to do is use this face on a different body posture. So let's first of all download it right here, and then create a new image that we could, for example, use for an Instagram pose. Here the first one is cut off, I don't like that, so let's take number 2, download it again. And then what we want to do is go over to advanced developer debug mode, and under control select mixing image prompt and in-paint. Then go to in-paint or out-paint, put our base image here that we want to have the face swapped onto, so let's use that. Then select the area that we want to change. Then go to image prompt, input our face image, and then click advanced and input face swap right here, and then press generate. These are the results, and I prefer this one. And now we have our face onto this image. Again, you can use focus to adapt the rest of the image if you want. You can refer to our YouTube videos for more in-depth tutorials about focus. And that's how you create a consistent AI character inside of different settings using focus. Now finally, if you're using something like ShadowPC and are, for example, on a Mac, then what you would do is, in order to save your image and get it onto your Mac system, simply open a browser inside of ShadowPC, log in with a Google account and upload onto Google Drive that image, and then inside of a browser on your Mac, log into that same account and download it from there. So now that your image has been created that you're going to be using, next up it's time for the automation process. For that we're going to be using make.com. In here we have a free subscription which is going to be enough for 1,000 operations per month, which I'll get into operations in just a second, but for starting out this is going to be enough, and obviously you can upgrade later on if you need more operations. And this is what a make.com automation process would look like for our use case. First of all, we have our Google Sheets, which is watching for any new rows, and that is a trigger based on any new row. Then this entire process gets started depending on when we have our automation set to trigger. Now, as a small disclaimer, you could also use an RSS feed to get input into your Google Sheet right here, so that you don't have to manually get ideas or have ChatGPT put them in, but rather have it automated through RSS. But this is going out of the scope of this video, so I will not be using it. I just wanted you to know about it. So then the second step is connecting ChatGPT, which is then going on onto the Google Sheets and looking at what we have in there. Is it, for example, an idea about a specific topic and creating a script based on that, or it goes onto a link that you put in there of an article and it summarizes it and then puts it into a video script based on a prompt that we'll be giving it. Next, we'll use DID to create the video based on our previously generated image using Midjourney or Fooocus, whichever you picked. And since DID doesn't have its own actual module inside of make.com, we can use the HTTP API key auth request inside of here, which will then again take the picture that we've previously created and also the output from ChatGPT and create the video based on that. Next, to allow the video to create fully, we're gonna make this process have a small sleeping phase of 30 to 60 seconds, depending on your use case. Moving on, where we initially created the video using DID, now it's time to also get the link from that and then input it along with the script into another Google Sheet. And then later on, we can also use Canva to crop our video to our specific needs, as well as adding subtitles using auto subtitles inside of CapCut, and then finally uploading our video to whichever social media we want. Once you've created a make.com account, it's now time to create your first scenario in the top right. Then select your first module, which are these steps right here, which first of all again is Google Sheets, and then scroll down to Watch New Rows. So inside of your Google Drive, you would create a new Google Sheet and then inside of there input your header. I put mine as ideas, and then you can decide if you want, for example, here I chose the finance niche and input a link. You can also put in ideas that you have, for example, here best sightseeing spots in Marseille. So after you've selected that specific module, you would press on add up here, connect your Google account, search by path is okay, whichever drive you put your Google Sheet on, and then you press spreadsheet ID, click here to choose file. I have it inside of the folder automation, press plus again, and here's my file input. And now here I select the sheet name, since I'm here on sheet 1. And next, table contains headers, yes, and the row with headers is in the first row. And now I put limit to 1, because I only want one action to be done at a time. So press OK. You can just choose where to start on all, press OK. Next step, here you can go to add another module or search down here by pressing add. One more important thing before we continue. Number one, you can save your automation process down here by pressing this disk and also select in which time frame you want this automation to run. I'm gonna put in here at regular intervals and I want it to happen only once a day. And then I put in whatever time I want. Let's go for 12 p.m. In order for us to use ChatGPT to browse an article or write about a specific idea, we have to use the API of ChatGPT. As previously mentioned in the tools section, we can use the free version for doing our market research, for example, but anything automation related, we need the API and we have to pay for the API. So what you do is go to platform.openai.com and then inside of the dashboard up here, go to API keys, and then you have to verify your phone number, then give this API key a specific name so that you can remember what it's used for. In this case, I'll use make. Default project and permissions is okay. Create the secret key, then copy that key. Once this key is created, we now have to go into the settings and under billing input some form of payment method. Back inside of make, add another module right here using the plus. Here it's already given as a suggestion, otherwise you could search for it using OpenAI ChatGPT. And then next select create a completion. Here create a connection, input your previously created API key and press save. Now before we continue setting up ChatGPT, it's important for you to understand the usage of the API. For that, where you were in the dashboard, you can go to usage and here you'll see your monthly spend in dollars. For your information, 1 million input tokens cost $5 and 1 million output tokens cost $15. And one token equals about 4 to 5 characters inside of a sentence. For example, the word spend would be 1 token. So now back inside of make, the method we selected, select the model for O mini, this is the newest one. And then under messages, the role has to be user. And this is the message content that we're going to be working with. You're a social media manager responsible for writing YouTube video scripts. Turn this YouTube idea into a YouTube short form content script. And now here we input the column A from our previously selected Google Sheets. Only return the text that the speaker will read off of. Don't return any other commentary. Do not add labels like music or speaker. Keep your output to 100 words and only return one paragraph. You can obviously adapt this depending on your use case, but this is the basic principle, and I'll put any kind of prompt that you will have to be using inside of a PDF that you can download for free inside this video's description. And now max tokens, I'll put that to 1000. Press OK. Regarding the subscription of DID, what you want to do is go to pricing and API. Don't select Studio because that would just be the regular subscription where you can create videos manually, but if you want to use the API, you can here go to API pricing or up top and then select monthly. Here this $18 per month build subscription is the one that you can start out with. Now it's time for us to connect our DID with our automation process. So go to the plus here, add another module, and since DID doesn't have its own dedicated module, we have to use the HTTP module and then go to make an API key auth request. Next up, in order to get your API key, you would go to add, then name it whatever you want. And once you've created your account and gotten your subscription, when you go to your name on the bottom left, press on it, then account and API. And here on the right, you will have your API key. I've already generated it, so mine is hidden, but you will have to generate yours right here. And then you would input your API key right here and press create. Since I've already created mine, I'll just select that. Inside of the URL right here, I need to input an endpoint from DID. You don't really have to be concerned about what exactly it is. It's basically just a connecting point where we're gonna tell DID to create a video. And this URL is going to be api.did.com/talks. Next, our method has to be changed to post since we want to input data and want something to be created. And now very important, also input a header right here, which for the name you're gonna input authorization, and for the value input your API key again, which you've used in your credentials creation up here. Make sure that in front of your API key inside of value write down basic and then press space once. Next, go to body type, input raw, content type, JSON, and now inside of request content, we're gonna input a code snippet, which I'm gonna provide to you inside of the free PDF. And there are multiple things that I have to break down for you. Number one, this JSON right here, if you change anything, if you remove a comma or whatever, then this would already give you an error. So make sure that you don't change anything besides what I tell you to change. To troubleshoot, you can simply copy your entire code and then open something like this JSON formatter, paste it in here and press validate, and up here you'll see it's a valid JSON. And if I were to remove this comma and validate again, you'll see here on line 10 that there's an error and it's expecting a comma. So that's how you could troubleshoot that. So the source URL that we're going to be using is basically just our previously created image using Midjourney or Fooocus, but we have to host it somewhere, meaning just upload it so that we can access it through right here. The easiest and free way is just using imgur.com, creating an account in here, and then going to new post on the top left, choose your file, then give it a title. Now you need to get the link. So press on the three dots, then get share links, and take this BB code forums, press copy link, just open a new tab and then remove the /image at the front and back, and then we input that into make.com. Now step 2 is deciding on which kind of voice you want to be using. Since I have a female model, I explicitly selected a female voice, and the way you find whichever voice you want, first of all you go to DID, create a video up here, select your avatar, and then down here when you select the voice, you press on it and you go through, choose whichever language you want, then select the gender. Also only select the standard voices so you don't have any paid voices in here which you couldn't use, and then just go through and listen to whichever sounds the best to you, and then you know whichever name it is. Annette, for example, right here with English Australia. So in order to get the voice ID, what we do is close out of this window, go back home, and on the left side right here open the API, and then again on the left side scroll down. 11 Labs, as a side note, is gonna be paid, so I won't go into this one. To keep it easy, we'll go to Microsoft Azure Voices and then scroll down a bit. Here are the instructions to get the ID, so let's go on here, and we wanted Annette. Obviously change the language as well to English Australia with 2 N's, I believe. There she is. And now what you do is on the right side here, once you found her, go to sample code and scroll down a bit. And right here in line 11, config.speech synthesis voice name, scroll over a bit, and right here is our ID, and you can input that then instead of this one right here. Next, your input, you're gonna select on the right here from these variables on the OpenAI module under choices, under message, the content. And that's it for this part. Finally, make sure that you put path response to yes, and then press OK. Also, for in between, make sure to save your progress down here using this disk symbol. Next, we need to allow the DID module to do its magic, so we're gonna input a sleeping step in here. So add another module and search for sleep, then under tools there's a sleep module. The delay is in seconds and I'll input 30 seconds for right now and press OK. After there's a wait step, now we're gonna get that previously created video. Again, using another HTTP module. And same, make an API key auth request. Same API key credentials as before, put in the same URL. Method get is correct this time, and then the same headers, authorization, and for value put in basic, space, and then your API key. Next, body type raw, leave the rest empty and put path response to yes. We're not entirely done with this yet because we're gonna need to input some data, but first we have to run this process once. So, once saved. While this is running, you can see that it's been successful when looking at this first HTTP module, pressing on this one, and then under output, opening data, and then if you see ID and these other rows as well, then you'll see that it worked. Now it's finished, and under the final HTTP module, under data talks, you open up the first one, and then your result URL is where you'll get your video from. Copy paste it, open a new tab, input it, and press enter. And this is the result that we got.
Discover the best sightseeing spots in Marseille. Explore the stunning Calanques, marvel at the Notre Dame de la Garde, and stroll through the vibrant Old Port. Experience the city's unique charm.
Now, once we've run this process once, then we now have access to the result from the first HTTP module, which means that we now go on to the second one, and inside of the URL, we add behind talks a slash, and then we go inside of data and then input the ID right here. Press OK and save it. And now if we run it once, here's where you should have under data only one result. Because this voice that I'm using right now, this Ava multilingual neural, it ran it for all 26 variations of it. But if you now put it in this way, you won't have that issue. Finally, we want it to be as automated as much as possible. So what we're going to do now is put in a final Google Sheets module. And then input add a row, and when pressing on it, I'm gonna again select my file from before. And then here I've created a second sheet. So in the first sheet I have my input, and then I've created a second sheet called outputs, and here's where each idea is, then the corresponding video link where you download it, along with the script which was created using ChatGPT. And now I'm going to show you how to set this up properly. So under sheet name, go to outputs, table contains headers yes, and then we want to take the ideas from the first sheet, the best sightseeing spots in Marseille right here. And for video, we're going to use the result URL, which you get under talks, and then down here the result URL. Finally, the script, we're going to take that from ChatGPT. Here on the ChatGPT module, again, choices, message, and content. Now we're gonna have it filled with initially the topic idea, then where to download the video, and then finally the script. The point of adding the script in here is that so we can later on also go inside a video editing software like CapCut and then add in subtitles so we know what exactly is being said. And finally, you can leave unformatted down here to now. Press OK and save it. Now I've input a new row right here so that we get a different kind of outcome, and we'll have a new row added right here. So let's run it. Alright, and now inside of our output sheet, we have the results. New foods of the 21st century. We can download our video using this link, and we have our script right here. And now let me show you where you would take it from here. I would go inside of Canva, create an account right here. You can use the free version, and then create a design, custom size, and I've input 1800 by 3200, which is double the pixel amount of 900 by 1600, which is the regular mobile phone screen size. So creating a new design right here, and then going to uploads, uploading the previously downloaded video, wait for it to upload fully, and then adjust it to the entire screen size, like so. And then you can see there's no more watermark in the bottom left. Finally, you go to share in the top right, download, and you can download the MP4 video. You can't adjust the quality in here, but 1080p with, again, this specific pixel size is more than enough. And then press download. Finally, inside of your preferred video editing software, you simply upload that video. What's nice about CapCut is that I can go to text and then auto captions, language English is okay, and then generate. Then I adapt the text, go for this preset right here so it's better visible, and increase the font size, and then we'll adapt the text itself. And this is why I also told you to have your script column right here, because then you can use this to find any particularly difficult words that CapCut might have messed up. For example, I'm pretty sure that this is not going to be correct. Let's see. Yeah, so you just adapt that. And now adapt the subtitles to fit correctly so that there's no blank space in between. And finally, you can also, by pressing Command and pressing on each of the subtitles, I'm selecting them together. Under animation, use whichever you prefer. I'll just put in the spring and then move the duration to 1 second. And here's the final result.
Discover the best sightseeing spots in Marseille. Explore the stunning calanques, marvel at the Notre Dame de la Garde, and stroll through the vibrant old port. Experience the city's unique charm.
Once you're happy with your results, you would then finally go up to export right here, name it however you want, and then export it as a 1080p MP4 file using export down here. And in the end, you would upload it to whichever social media platform you want. You could also automatically have the video uploaded to YouTube directly through a module in here. But the thing is that it's not fully polished yet, and so it makes sense to first of all go through the steps that I've shown you and then afterwards upload it. As a few final reminders I want to leave you with. Number one, again, you can use the RSS feed here in the beginning in order to automate getting an input file full of ideas automatically. Or you could, in the step before you actually create the video, input your image into some kind of background remover and then input whichever background, a solid color, whatever you want in there, and that way you could create different looking styles but with the same AI character. And finally, I want to direct your attention towards the focus tutorials that we have on our channel, which would help you create different scenarios but with the same character and the same face. Finally, I also want to show you a tool which is called HeyGen, which works similarly to DID with the caveat that there is a community created HeyGen module, but the thing is it's first of all paid and I haven't tested it, so you could have a look at it if you're really interested in using it for automation. But if you were to spend the time and instead of using the automation with DID, you could instead have with this creator plan right here, which is $30 per month, unlimited video generations with up to 5-minute videos. And there would also not be a watermark in there as well. So you could ignore the step of putting it into Canva and removing the watermark by cropping it away.